Where you go, you see someone with a mask on. With a
Did you play like video games when you were like a child?
Yeah, actually. I didn't play much. I was actually a PC gamer first. My dad got a little computer, some dinky little Dell desktop thing, and my first game I ever played was Minesweeper.
Minesweeper?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's like everyone from your generation's first game.
Kinda, yeah, because we really did get the popularization of the home PC.
Wait, was it just like a Dell?
Yeah, it was just like a dinky little Dell desktop. I'm sure it didn't have like the megabytes of RAM
Well, yeah.
that old computers did, but it was probably like a 1 or 2 gigger. We were still on like AOL dial-up shit like that.
Oh god.
Yeah, dude, the old days.
So that was like the first taste of games.
First taste of games was like Minesweeper, Solitaire, and definitely much more like slower, methodical stuff than I'm used to playing now, like fucking Escape from Tarkov and all that.
Did you ever play like console games? Like
I didn't start console gaming until I was actually up here in North Carolina for the first time, because that's when I got my Game Boy Advanced, or no, Game Boy SP actually. It was a flip, and that was when I got Pokemon Emerald. It was also my first ever Pokemon game.
oh god.
Nope. I got that shit for Christmas, and I was so hyped. And that was actually the Christmas where I was living in Cavalier Arms Apartments, where a Mexican tried to break into my house on Christmas Eve.
What? Okay, I haven't heard that one yet. We can get it. We'll get into that one later. Okay, so you lived in Florida with your mom and your dad.
Yeah,
okay?
before the divorce.
Before the divorce.
Before the schism.
When did the schism happen?
Oh goodness, that was probably when I was. It started when I was 6 or 7. From what my mother told me, it was because my father felt like he wasn't getting enough attention, because my mother was, raising me and shit as a child, and she worked a bunch of like smaller time jobs. Her job that she held for the longest time, I think at that point, was Old Navy in a mall.
I worked at Old Navy.
Old
Job
Navy's
fucking
a fun
sucked
spot.
ass.
She was like the manager or shit though, so she had it pretty okay. But yeah, I remember like I'd stay up late at night because my father would fucking get drunk and pass out and shit. And she would come home late at night from work and she would always have a toy for me. Just some dinky little like probably vending machine prize or something. But hey, I was a kid, so it did the job for me. I would just sit up on the steps and she'd walk in and be like, shh. And I'd like, and go up and go to bed.
So did your parents get like an official divorce or like?
That was a long time coming. No real official proclamations were made because my father was kind of a lazy prick in that aspect. He didn't want the responsibility of like alimony or any sort of shit like that, but he also didn't want to bother going through the legal proceedings to finalize the divorce and cut it off or anything. Like, they didn't actually finalize that until a year or 2 before my mom passed. So that would have been like, what, 4 years ago?
Shit.
So that's like over a decade of no progress on that.
So wait, do you have your mom's last name or your dad's last name?
My dad's. Wyman.
Do you know where he's at?
Not particularly, no.
When was the last time you talked to him? That's like a good question.
Probably 10 years ago. The absolute last I ever communicated with him or saw him in any aspect was probably about 6 or 7 years ago, whenever he sent me a digital camera for my birthday after not sending even a card for 5 birthdays, and there was one picture on it, and it was of him. It was a selfie, and he did not age well. Drugs will do that.
Drugs?
Oh yeah, he was a big druggie after we left. From what I heard from his mother, my grandma, before she passed, was that he was like doing black tar heroin, like crack. He became such a bad or he had such a bad alcohol addiction. Last I heard that he was literally drinking like mouthwash to get the alcohol out of it. Like he was just that desperate.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and he was wheelchair ridden. Last I heard. Yeah, so ain't no telling with that.
So when did you guys leave Florida?
That was when I was 8 years old. Because that was whenever we came back up to North Carolina for the first time, because that's where my mom's from. That's where all of our family is. My father was actually from Florida. I don't even know why he was up here. I think it was some sort of construction job, because he was a carpenter back in the day. So yeah, he came up here, they hit it off and everything, and then my mother followed him down and then set up shop in Florida for a while. But yeah, no, we came back up. My mom called her parents and was like, things are going south, we need to get out. We left that night, and like my father was fucking throwing dishes at us and shit, saying that we were ruining shit and everything, but just peaced out. Grandparents drove all the way from North Carolina to Florida and right back the same day.
Well, shit, kind of like what I just fucking did.
Exactly, yeah.
So, why Waynesville? Like,
It's where the family is.
other than like, so you grew up, like, did you grow up here, like, after you left, or like?
It was a mix from there, because that was in the time period where I went back and forth between like here, Mississippi, back to here. It's basically been North Carolina for the majority of my childhood, but not one localized area. I've been basically all over Western North Carolina.
Never, like, past the mountains.
No, never past the mountains. The mountains are my home.
The mountains. So wait, so where'd your mom work while, like, in North Carolina? Because I know that she had, like, health issues when, like...
I was about to say that.
When did she stop, like, working?
She stopped working probably about when I hit 7th or 8th grade, because that was when a lot of her medical issues were really kicking in, and she was kind of working herself really hard during that time period too, because single mother in North Carolina and coming from lower than middle class beginnings, didn't have that big of like a nest egg to start on or anything, especially since we left everything behind in Florida. My dad kind of got the house and the vehicle and everything. It kind of sucked. But oh yeah, she stopped working probably around 7th or 8th grade for me, because she was like doing side jobs, mowing lawns and everything just to like scrape by, and that just kind of pushed her with her already pre-existing medical conditions to the limit, and she just kind of had to go for disability at that point.
What did she, like, officially have?
Epilepsy, lupus, she had some sort, I forget the name of the condition, but you know that valve above your stomach that like opens whenever food comes through and closes for the acid and everything? That didn't shut for her. So her stomach was just kind of like continuously leaking acid into her esophagus anytime she went like less than vertical. So she had a lot of esophageal and intestinal issues. She had at least 6 different types of cancer over the course of her life, including brain, double breast, thyroid at a second point, so 2 different types of brain cancer, I guess. I forget what the other 2 were. But, so yeah, she had like copious amounts of chemotherapy, and just like a bunch of niggling other little diseases and things that kind of pop up as a result of the others.
So you moved here. You went to high school where?
I went to high school over at Haywood Community College for the early college program.
Okay. And you're like how many? You're like how many credits away from like
2 classes? However many credits that is. I'm missing like a sociology course and trigonometry.
Why don't you finish that?
Mostly because of my work schedule. I'm not really good at online classes for the most part, because I don't really have good attention issues due to my massive amount of my life spent on the internet. and in-person classes aren't really an option because I work 4 days a week, 12-hour shifts. Can't really afford to get time off because of how important I am to the infrastructure of the company I work at least the day-to-day operations. So actually going to physical classes isn't really an option unless I want to push myself even further physically.
Oh yeah, talk about the Walmart stint. Yes, yes,
That's a fun one. So I had just turned 18. I had my girlfriend of a few years at the time, and it all comes back to Jared. Jared again, my best friend at the time. We had all decided to move out. It was funny. It was actually predated by my girlfriend's mother. She was trying to convince her to come back home at the time because she was living with me and my mother and her fiance at the time. And I don't know why, but she was like uneasy about the living situation as it was currently, which surprised me because we were all getting along together. But I just turned 18 and we all decided to move out together. And we moved into a nice little apartment complex down by Walmart. And it was relatively expensive because, you know, it was a 3-bedroom affair. It had 2 baths as well, I believe. And it was a good apartment complex. They had like a pool, laundromat, all that kind of stuff, the full amenities. And so I started working Walmart. I was still in the early college program at this time, but it was the summer. So I took an overnight stocking job because I'm a night owl and, you know, that pays a lot. Overnight plus good long hours. My friend Jared did the same, and so did my girlfriend Anna. And then it was perfectly fine for the summer. We all had plentiful money. Everyone paid bills and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, school came back. So me and my friend Jared had to go back to school, which means we went from night shift stocking positions to daytime cashiering. So not only did our pay rates get cut due to the new position, our hours got cut. And so as a result, all of the money we had went literally to just bills, like just being able to live where we were. There was no food, no anything like that coming into the house. And so as a result of me being a dumb 18-year-old not wanting to go back to my parents and ask for help, I decided to snag some food illegally, stealing it on my breaks. What I ended up taking was 2 separate occasions, 1 corn dog from the deli, and 1 of the like bigger but not like 2-liter size sodas. I got like a Dr. Pepper and a Mountain Dew, I think. And Walmart ended up throwing the book at my ass. They caught me on security camera and they said, "You are an employee and you are feloniously exploiting your position as an employee to steal from us. We're going to slap you with 3 felony charges." I'm surprised I didn't go for the 4th because of the damn corn dog. Those things are good. But yeah, 3 felony charges, and I had to like fully confess and everything. They had me escorted out in cuffs by an actual police officer who threatened to put my face in the ground if I gave him any trouble over some corn dogs and soda. But yeah, went to the paddy wagon, got to the holding station and everything. Funny little comment from that, actually. I was sitting there just politely minding my business and everything while they were getting ready to put me in a holding cell. And then I hear one of the officers say, just put him in with Dyer. And I'm like, is that a nickname or a last name? But no, luckily he was super chill, actually. He was in there on some trumped up domestic abuse charges. Poor bastard.
Well, at least he wasn't in there for stealing some fucking corn dogs.
I know, right? He told me his wife like turned the kids against him and made them like tell the authorities he did shit and stuff. That's fucked up. But yeah, so my parents ended up finding out I needed help anyway because they came to bail my ass out. And they obviously assured me that if I needed any help, I could go to them, obviously. But I was just a stubborn, just turned adult at the time. 18 magically does that, apparently. And yeah, I got fired from Walmart, can't work at any Walmarts, and I'm not allowed in any Walmarts. Basically, oh man, that was after that happened was when my mother and her fiance at the time split. Oh boy, that was fun. We got kicked out with less than a week's notice to find somewhere else to live. While he was in the hospital, his mother had like talked to him and convinced him to basically get us out. His mother was a fucking harpy for the whole 4+ years we lived there. She never let my mother have a day of rest. Like, she constantly harassed her, fucking did all sorts of crazy shit. I nearly ended up shoving that bitch down a flight of stairs one time.
Why? I haven't heard this. I didn't even know that
You
your
didn't know
mom
about
got like remarried, or not like remarried, but like
Yeah.
re-engaged.
Mm-hmm. That's because when I was in middle school, we were living in the Hickory Hall apartments near Waynesville Middle, and then he was her high school sweetheart. He came back out of nowhere and started like romancing her and everything, and he convinced her that he was going to take care of her and moved us out of the apartment that we were living in and shit, which was rent controlled. We had no problem with money or anything like that, and it did not work out that way. His mother lived right next door and did not like my mother. He was a big time mama's boy. If she did not have sole exclusive influence and control over him, she was not happy. Any holidays we went over there, she would make constant little comments that obviously would not really affect many people, but my mother, being a Southern woman and having her pride and all that kind of shit, would like fuck with her. She would just make like constant little niggling comments, as well as other like damn near physical confrontations in some instances. But thank God we got out of that situation. I hope that bitch dead.
Did she get a house by herself, or like?
Oh no, that was whenever we had to move out into that shitty little rundown house that we lived in up until she passed, and me and John became roommates.
I was gonna say, yeah, no, fucking talk about like that shitty, like house, cause I remember like that's one of the like most distinct things I remember about you is having to live in that fucking house.
The rundown house that honestly should have been condemned, that we paid $200 a month in rent for, which was a family friend connection. That house, I lived in the attic, which was not a livable space. There were multiple portions of the floor, like under the right front corner of my bed. If you put your foot on this spot by the corner, it would sink. Like the wood panels were not connected and they would like angle. So I didn't really sleep in that bed too much, if I had to admit. But yeah, there were holes in the ceiling that you could literally like see sky and rain would come through and shit in my room. There was a really crappy addition that was added to it, which my mother had claimed as her bedroom, but because of her thyroid being removed due to the cancer and everything, she had massive thermoregulation issues. And because it was a very badly sealed house and an even worse sealed addition, she never slept in there because it was too breezy, it kept too cool or anything. Like, she just never enjoyed it. There were holes about that big between the wall and the floor in some spots. So we had baby possums come in the first few months that we lived there. I still have pictures of that, by the way.
I remember you sending me pictures of the baby possums.
It was the funniest thing. We were just watching Jeopardy one night, and I see a little shadow just dance across the wall, and I'm like, my cat's right there. I don't have any other pets. Uh-oh. And so I go over there and move the little chair, and sure enough, there's a little baby possum curled up in the corner, hissing and spitting at me, and I'm like, Mom, we've got possums. And she immediately does the classic, like, Southern woman thing, hops up on the couch, fucking, get it out! And I fucking grab a towel and just cup him up real quick, and he was chill. The first one was cool. He did a good photo op and everything, didn't try and bite me, didn't shit everywhere like the next three. And I just kind of popped him out the front door. And I noticed he immediately ran back around the side of the house, which gave me a little pause, and I was like, And I go back in there watching Jeopardy like nothing happened. And then I see another shadow dance across the wall. Alright, round 2, electric boogaloo. Same spot, different baby possum. This one was not happy to see me. He immediately started shitting and hissing everywhere. God, baby possums can hold a surprising amount of shit. At command, almost. But
surprising.
it was funny because that one didn't want to be let down nicely. I had opened the towel and began to let him down, and he jumped leap of faith out of my fucking hands and splatted on the ground. I was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And he just kind of ran around the side. And this time I followed him because he went the exact same direction, and Mama Possum was there. There was literally this little hole in the side of our house where it was like a ventilation spot or something, and there was no grate on it. And I literally watched Mama Possum poke her head out of it and beckon the baby possum back inside that same spot. So I'm like, oh, this is how we're going to do it, huh? So I ended up blocking that off after I saw her go back inside, because there's another route I knew she could go out, but I could actually shut that one. And then, of course, the third baby possum decided to pop in. It was probably the second one again, if I'm honest, because he was hissing and spitting still, but not shitting. So I think he was out of ammo. And I took him out, and then I followed him right back around, and sure enough, Mom had come out the fully exposed way like I planned, and I just bravely, might I add, ran up, screamed at her, shut the door behind her, and ran back into my house. Very brave. Very brave. So that was the baby possum incident. But no, that was a horrible fucking house. Kept hot as shit in the summer with the tin roof that I had to live under. Kept cold as fuck because, like I said, holes that big between the walls and the floor, holes in the ceiling. It was like living in a fucking tin Swiss cheese, basically. And no, that was not a good place to live in. Very good out of there.
So your mom passed how many years ago?
2 years now. February 17th, 2018, I believe.
And that was just from like...
That was actually a result of her... Obviously, it was everything piling up. Like I said, she had so many different medical conditions. But due to the life that she had been led to live, she developed alcoholism. And with her already weakened immune system and body in general, her doctors repeatedly suggested that she stop drinking. And that was one of the few things that just kind of brought her joy, since, you know, she couldn't work, she couldn't go anywhere, we didn't have a fucking car or anything. She didn't really have many friends, sadly, because, you know, the local rural area we live in, and she can't go out or anything, so can't meet anyone. But yeah, so she liked to drink. And it kind of resulted in her liver not being able to handle it in the end, and it just kind of ruptured. It was particularly rough because it was so sudden. She was in the hospital on an unrelated incident, and we had been told that she would be coming home either that evening or the next. And I was literally playing CSGO with 2 other friends. I honestly forget what it was at the time because of what happens next. I got a call from the doctor. And they said, "Hey, is this Lucas?" And I was like, "Yes, this is Lucas speaking." And they're like, "Your mother's going downhill, like, immediately, like she's crashing. We need you to tell us if you want us to comfort her as she passes or aggressively try and keep her alive." Now, mind you, I'm sitting here about to play a fucking video game. And I get this phone call dropped on me, and I'm like, can I call my grandparents real quick, her parents, to like talk with them about this? And I'm like, no, we kind of need a decision right now. This is like a literal life or death moment right now. And I said, all the years of her suffering and raising me and all that kind of shit passed through my mind, and I obviously, I believe, made the right decision and told them to comfort her as she passes. She'd been through so much over the years. She raised me with everything she had, and, you know, I feel like she'd been done suffering. She'd fought long enough. She hadn't led a good life outside of, you know, being able to raise me and, you know, our interactions together, our positive times, but I feel like that was the right move. And yeah, we drove up there. I called my grandparents, and they had no idea what was going on. We drove up there. She had already passed. I didn't get to say goodbye or anything, but our local little pastor was there. We did a prayer session over her body and everything, and, you know, said what goodbyes we could, and had her funeral a couple weeks later, I think.
I specifically remember getting a text from you. I was on my way back from my grandparents, and I was in the car with my family, and you text me, and you're like, "Dude, my mom's dying," and I'm like,
yeah, I was kind of like reaching out to everyone at that point.
holy
It was a dark spot.
shit.
Because, like, that's the thing. That was my
Christ.
mom, man. That was my only parent ever since I could basically, like, really form memories. She was, like, the one constant in my life. It's fucked up.
So after your mom passed, what the fuck did you do? Like I feel like there was a period of time there where I fucking hadn't heard from you in like a while.
I was about to say, it was probably a month or 2 I just kind of shut down and went numb while I was processing things internally. I still don't think I've really gotten over it, but I just kind of needed some me time because it was a lot to go through. But no, I just kind of kept working, playing OSU and everything, you know, my general things that kind of help me get through the day. And then eventually I was just kind of like, you know what, I should probably let my friends know I'm not like offing myself or dying or anything myself, so
Yeah.
get back in contact. But no, I made it through.
So then JP moved in.
Yeah, relatively quickly after I was like, well, it is only $200 a month, but on my shitty manager fast foods, I want to say salary for some reason, even though I'm not salaried. My slavey wagey pay wouldn't be able to sustain that plus bills and everything, so I was looking out for friends that needed a place to stay or anything, and John was actually just conveniently looking to move out of where he was living with Paul at the time. And so I was like, well, do you want to come live in my shitty little rundown shack for $100 a month? And he was like, $100 a month, you say? Yeah, he regretted that pretty quick.
So wait, how'd you find the house that you're living in now? Cause you and JP moved out.
Yeah, we got kicked out.
Wait, what?
Some dude bought the house. Like, that's the thing. The entire time for the 3+ years I was living there, that house was up for sale. Like, the people that owned it were actively trying to sell it. We were just renting it in the meanwhile. And
Okay.
finally, someone fucking bought that little shithole with the plan of renovating it. And oh boy, they had no idea what they had on their hands. Especially with what we left them. But no, literally, like one day the landlord literally just called us and was like, hey, we sold the house. They're going to come by and look at it soon. And whatever happens is out of our hands now. So, like, you'll have to talk with them. And we were like, okay, that's a little sudden. Thanks for the heads up. Fuck you, click. And yeah, it was some older couple, like late 40s, some shit, you know, just running around. We do house renovations on the side as a passion project, flip houses for fun. Some Yankee couple.
How much did they buy it for?
I have no idea. I think it was like $12,000 or some shit. Some outrageous price for a little shit shack on the top of a secluded hill somewhere that they're probably gonna have to bulldoze and put something entirely new up anyway to get any value out of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, he literally came in there, inspected the house, and was like, so, yeah, we're beginning renovations next Saturday. And it was Saturday. And we were like, you realize that even without a lease, we have more than a week to get out of here legally, right? And he's like, do you have the money for a lawyer? Because I do. And I was like, oh, we're going that route, are we? Okay. And so I called my grandmother and I'm like, we gotta move like stat. And so her obviously being super ingrained in the local area, going to church and everything, she started calling any family and friends she knew. And sure enough, the place we're living at currently had just opened up. They were church friends of hers, and their daughter, like way older than I am daughter, had just moved into her own place. And they were literally like cleaning it out as we speak. We had gone over there to see it, and they were like getting the last boxes out of it and everything. And they said, yeah, as soon as we're done, you guys are good to move in and everything. But the main issue was I hadn't told them I had the cats at the time. And they specifically said it would be a no pets sort of setup. And I was like, I can't really abide by that. Velvet was me and my mom's cat. I'm not getting rid of her. Like, that's one of the last few memories and ties to my mother I have. And I had Trash Cat at the time, too, who I just rescued from under a dumpster at Hardee's by baiting her around with hot dogs. God, I love that little cat. So I was obviously like, I can't do that. I can't. So I was frantically looking for somewhere else to live. And then I ended up just kind of breaking down on my birthday, funnily enough, and calling them and asking them, like, listen, this is my mother's cat. She's kind of old anyway, so she probably doesn't have too much long left, if I'm completely honest. Can I just pay you guys a non-refundable $600 deposit, just so it covers any damages she could possibly do to the house, even if I like took a flamethrower to it fucking after, like, it should cover it. But like, if I give you a non-refundable pet deposit, will you let me keep this cat, please? And it was Vivian I was talking to, the wife of the couple, and she was like, you know what, that sounds perfectly reasonable. Let me just talk it over with my husband, but we should definitely be able to let that happen. And sure enough, a couple hours later, they called me back confirming it, and I legitimately told them to this day that's probably one of the best birthday gifts I ever got. Just being able to keep my fucking cat and move somewhere. Like, have a place to live.
So, when did you quit Hardee's? What made you quit?
I quit Hardee's back in oh wow, it wasn't even that long ago. It was like late 2018. No, it was like mid 2019. Cause I had basically just had enough after 3 years of being the closing manager and working 6 days a week, 8-hour shifts at $11 an hour. Yeah, $11 an hour actually. They had told me they capped me at $11 an hour. They couldn't raise me anymore unless I literally became a general manager and owned my own franchise. I was like, no, I'm not having an entire crew of retards working under me. I have a hard enough time with 3 of them. Like I said, I've been working 6 days a week for 3 years. I couldn't get 5 days off a week at all. Fucking customers suck. People that, as someone who eats fast food customers suck. Be nicer.
Fast food.
That's staying in. Clip that. But no, like, I had food thrown at me. I had drinks thrown at me. I had people cuss me out for fucking forgetting a penny. Like, people just absolutely losing their mind. I'll actually go ahead and tell you a quick little interlude. This one of my favorites, and I should have been fired for it more than likely. I was working breakfast shift, which is notoriously bad for me because it's like starts at 4 in the fucking morning. That's when I'm going to sleep normally. Mm-hmm. But there's a female customer who comes through the drive-thru, and she cannot make up her mind for the life of her. She gets like 12 different biscuits, and I'm not saying like obviously 12 individual biscuits. Each one of the biscuits was different. She basically looked at the menu and said, "Give me one of everything," and continued to customize about half of them from there, adding or subtracting things. And then she pulls off from the window, immediately reverses back to the speaker. Pulls away from the speaker, reverses back to the speaker, and goes, "Hold on, let me change that up real quick." Proceeds to remove 2 of the biscuits, add 2 duplicate ones, customize those even further. And then she's like, "All right, yeah, I should do it." And then pulls around to the window. Proceeds to change her order again, adding probably at least a couple drinks, I remember, because I had to run back, literally sprint back and forth at this point because we're slammed full. Hardee's is a breakfast franchise. They run on their biscuits.
Really?
Yes. Literally, the breakfast shift carried that store. They would do easily $1,300 in breakfast, and we would do $1,700 to $1,800 for the whole day. After breakfast, that store fucking died. But yeah. And so she gets to the window and everything, and I'm being as polite as I possibly can. I'm just like, you got it, man. Let's get you all that stuff. That's money in the store's pocket, whatever. And I run back over to the cooking area, and I'm packing it all in the bag and everything. And I remember saying, clear as day, all right, someone else is going to have to run this out to her, or I'm going to end up hurting somebody. And I hear from behind me, "You're going to do what now?" And I just turn around, and she is right at the counter getting jelly and stuff from my manager. And I'm like, I just lock eyes with her, and I go, and turn back around. And I lock eyes with the cook through the other side of the heat bench, and he's just like, and I'm like, and sure enough, I get pulled out through the side. She's like, "I want your name. I need your corporate number. I need this location number. I want your manager's name." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." But I never heard any repercussions for it. I think she legitimately left there, ate her food, and was like, "You know what? I was kind of a bitch. I'm not going to do anything."
I don't think so. I think your corporate was just like...
I think they legitimately give them the runaround in corporate.
Probably.
I shit on so many customers in my last year there, just because I was fucking fed up and they wouldn't fire me regardless because I was the closing manager and they wouldn't get anyone else to do that position. So I was like, you know what, fuck it. And I just started being mean to people. I was that shitty manager that if I didn't blatantly like you, you weren't going to have a good time at Hardee's. Oh, God. Yeah, there were points where I was like, is that all I can get for you, sir? When someone was just pissing me off or I had shit to do, and they were just like, yeah, I think it is. And I was like, all right, good. Here's your change. Bye. And they were just like, what the fuck, dude? But, yeah, I quit Hardee's because of obviously all of those factors combined and many other things. And, oh yeah, the main thing outside of those that I just mentioned was my friend Tristan at the time. He was working factory work over at a place over in Canton. And the days off were much more reasonable. It's similar to my current work schedule, Monday through Thursday, have the weekend off. 12-hour work shift, so it's much more attuned to my high energy night owl lifestyle, and much better pay, like $3+ more an hour. And the one thing that drew me to the place I went to first was weekly pay, not bi-weekly. That was the first time that I'd ever heard of that, and I was like, holy shit, I get paid a week? I don't have to have a slump week? Holy shit. But obviously I went there. What really burned my gears on that one, though, was I left a 3-year position that I had absolutely complete job security at to get laid off for months into working at that new spot. They were going through some sort of recession, obviously with everyone else. They were making like 18-wheeler parts or some shit, some specific. And their orders had dropped, and the department I was in that made the parts, molding, had to have severe cuts. And the funny thing was, I was just a temp at the time, and I survived like 3 rounds of layoffs, more than like actual established people fully hired on, because I was just that good of a worker. They had me running like 3 different machines, running across aisles through forklift traffic and shit, like doing my job, because I ain't a bitch. I have a good work ethic. But yeah, no, that place definitely teach me that if you show you're a good worker, 9 times out of 10, they will expect you to do that same level of above and beyond, and then more so. And it just kind of keeps ramping up. So that's why I kind of coast through. Just be a little lazy, but not completely shitty. So they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that he just does normal work, and I'm just sitting here like forklifting and shit. But yeah. Worst part about that spot was back when I didn't have my vehicle, and I was getting rides from Tristan to work there. And because I was a temp, at some point they needed people on the night shift as opposed to the day shift, which I was working. And so they forced me to switch over because I was a temp. I didn't have any option otherwise. They're like, you're either going to the other shift or you're quitting. Which you want. And Tristan had the option to follow me to night shift and even told me he was going to, but did not. So I remember that first day I got on night shift, I had a ride there from a friend, but no ride home. I'm walking down the big ass hill from the job place after a 12-hour night of factory work, planning to walk at least a few hours home. And some dude drives by me and he's like, do you need a ride, dude? And I'm like, yeah, it might be a little helpful. So he takes me from Canton to Clyde, which is cut about half the walk time off. He dropped me off at fucking Burger King. And I was like, yeah, thanks, bro. You could have just taken me the extra 5 minutes drive to my place, but I'll take the hour and a half walk home. That's fine. And so, yeah, I walked an hour and a half home from the Burger King in Clyde to where I live currently in Waynesville after a 12-hour night of factory work, and that was fun.
So what, did you quit after that?
Not too long after that. I managed to actually get a ride home some of the nights, so I stuck it out a little longer. But then they actually started doing the layoffs, and I finally got hit. So I was like, all right, fuck you guys. And that's when I went to the company I'm currently working at, which is still factory work, Monday through Thursday, 12 hours a week, but we make Epsom salts, not 18-wheeler parts, and our orders have only been going up. Like, we cannot keep up with production. Or demand, rather.
So the question is are you gonna work there forever? Like, what's the fucking
Honestly?
plan, bro?
The long-term plan is probably just for funsies. Take some time off at some point to finish off that associate's in arts degree that I'm 2 classes away from. See if that presents any options to me currently. But no, honestly, as it stands, I could definitely retire from where I'm working currently. They have a sick 401k 6% contribution, matched contribution rather. They have really good benefits, insurance. Like I said, the hours are really nice. My pay can only go up because we have quarterly reviews based on performance, and if you're not fucking up to the point where you get fired, basically, you're gonna get raises. I'm a forklifter, so I don't do too much manual labor. Obviously, I'm still doing a bunch. I have to hop off my forklift, fold bags, hang straps, and shit like that, but it's rewarding. I like it a lot, so I really don't mind.
Shit. Better than Hardee's.
Yeah, better than fucking having drinks chucked at me through drive-through or fucking smelling burning plastic for 12 hours a day.
What do you do in your free time? I mean, like,
No, I still play video games,
I
although
was gonna say, how is like video games like fit into all this? Because I know like that's how like we met, and I know that's how you've met like some other people and stuff.
Oh yeah, like a good amount of my friends, not a good amount, but some of my good friends that I'm still stuck with to this day are definitely from gaming. Like that brings a lot of people together. I'm still super happy to say.